1 cent. 1 penny, a value so small that it actually costs the US government more to mint that coin than its own face value. 1 penny isn't a lot. That's the price of several grains of rice, a little bit of a stable carbohydrate that's mostly starch with some few other trace minerals. But as it happens, a penny is also the value and going rate of human sacrifice. Stay with me on this. I'm Dan Umpton, and this is the DOOMCAST. The coronavirus pandemic has taken officially around 235,000 American lives on paper, possibly more if you factor in people who died without an official test or other pulmonary or cardiac issues resulting from COVID-19 without an official test or any verification, but more or less, let's say roughly 250,000 Americans. For scale, that is more people than died in the Hiroshima atrocity in 1945. For scale, that's dramatically more people per million than, say, China, where we all agree the virus originated. An attack on America from China? That's what the GOP calls it. Weird that they did nothing to stop it then, because if China had fired a nuclear weapon at us or launched a ground invasion and killed 250,000 American people, wouldn't we have tried to intercept the missile, stop a landing, retaliated, launched a counterattack? Would we protect other citizens from the fallout? Would we protect our citizens from getting shot by an invading army, or just claim that there really isn't anything to worry about and not to let fear of missiles or bullets ruin our lives, prevent us from going to Chili's to get mini chimneys? But a different sort of infection took hold early on, and this was ideological. It laid bare a rather stark discrepancy of the American condition from that of the rest of the world. When it became apparent the physical cost of just surviving an infection, the length of time that it takes away from work and recovering, the unknown effects both neurologically and pulmonarily, things like ongoing neurological conditions or acute chronic myelolytic encephalopathy, which is now being referred to as COVID syndrome. And the fact that no American workers have real sick leave or affordable health care to prevent a massive blow to the American labor sector, the US stock market took a massive shit, a dip of 30%. The media, the government, scientists all knew just how deadly and how dangerous this pandemic would be in January, but it didn't become real until it took a shit in the stock market. The stock market has become deified by the American media, who also completely fail to understand what it is, and the public, for whom the market and economy are way too many Google searches of nuance to distinguish from one another. Number green equals money got happy. That's all that matters. Money got happy means president do good job. That's the simple propaganda formula that you yourself probably have digested very happily for the most part. That's by design. It's not too terribly different from any ancient human civilization in many ways, sacrificing human life to a fertility god for a good harvest. We made the choice. We saw a very clear modern choice between money and human well-being, and fully half of us in an ostensibly secular society willfully and eagerly sacrificed 250,000 human souls on the altar of mammon. Horrifying, especially if you're concerned about politicians being swayed by religion of any kind. Marketism arguably is a religion. It is the true American religion. It has rights, it has beliefs, it has ritual, dogma, faith, deification of both person and concept. It is a religion, and the GOP are its zealous hierophants. The market isn't a god or even an invisible hand. The market is more arguably thoroughly fictional than any religious deity in that we can prove that the market is itself artificial. Pieces of contrived paper worth an arbitrary value people are willing to pay on a secondary market. It's fake money backing fake paper, backing fake owner stealing very real labor from very real working people. That is what the market actually is. Yet we chose and continue to choose to treat the market as a capital G god. When investors realized with horror the very real labor backing layers of fake paper in the American market didn't have health care, sick time, a living wage, or rent security, the market tanked rapidly. By rapidly, I mean the largest total point loss in market value in history. But did we recognize this critical failure baked into the labor-stealing financial infrastructure built into our entire system? Hardly. Instead, like an ancient elder god, we realize that this dark and malevolent god was angry, and so we made a human sacrifice to appease mammon. Open everything, let people die so that the economy, arguably the net worth of about 1,000 people at its very most, isn't dissolved. We fed it people and not all of them died. Most of them recovered. Your chances of dying are pretty small relative to a lot of things. But still, the god fed and the number is green, and so that means that the priest king of Mammon, your glorious, mindless, babbling, fat and gold calf you worship, your real American evangelical Christian apostate Messiah is making America great. Matthew chapter 7, James chapter 5, be damned. Don't even read those. I see a lot of people who I'm friends with who post memes about the slippery slope, supposedly, from masks and social distancing, then to gun control, and then putting people in boxcars for whatever reason the government would put people in boxcars. You really outthought them, huh? Because now the whole world is the boxcar and the gas chamber, and you just walked into it freely. It's a roulette with a 1 to 9% chance of death, depending on your age and health, and you walked into that boxcar and you called it freedom. And the vested interest the government has is that they continue to control you with the economic system that they have in place. Real 4D chess brain that you've got there, huh? Because if you look at the total point difference from January the 2nd, 2020 to October the 30th of 2020, in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's negative 2,370. It went down, all those people. And if you divide the total deaths against it, 237,000, it's less than a penny. It's negative 1 cent. To these people, to the GOP, the people who control the economic system, you got played, you got conned. Your life is worth less than nothing, and they sold it to a god of death.